League Cup draw. Let's talk about that to begin with. Oldham away in the League Cup. I guess away from home is not ideally what you would want, but an opportunity to progress. What's your view?
Quite a chuckle. When my grandson found out about it at Charlie, he said Oldham, wouldn't like a sandwich off them. So I don't know where he was coming from that. But listen, they'll think it's a good chance to progress for them, and we think it's a good chance to progress for us. So, you know, it doesn't matter who you play. You know, you're going to try and win the game, and I'm sure they'll be in the same mood.
Do you welcome the extra games at this stage of the season because you've got new players to integrate and things to try out, and I guess congestion's sometimes an issue, but maybe not in the early stages? You just want games?
You know me, I don't mind playing football. I play every week, so midweek. So I know as a player, I always preferred midweek games to training. So it's not a case of trying to bed people in. It's trying to get into the habit of winning games, and the more times you have an opportunity to win, the better chance you've got of doing it.
The other piece of news that's come out since last we spoke was the EFL fining the club for the COVID and missing the games last season. As you would expect, Andy Holt's been outspoken about this. What's the view amongst yourself and the staff about something like that is, I guess, completely out of your control?
I already knew about it, and to be honest, a lot of the policies that were put in place were very vague, and what you could and couldn't do. We tried our best to adhere to what we were told to do. The harsh reality is we had to go and play the game at Ipswich, so we stayed over in Colchester, and somewhere along that trip most of our players got COVID, myself included. So I don't know how we could have took any more precautions from that, apart from not going to play the game.
We've seen, I think, Harrogate, the team that have been affected by it in this new season. Does it remain a concern that you could get a mass outbreak and teams could end up calling games off?
I think it's inevitable that you're going to get players getting it. And what team's unacceptable for players enough players to be out? What's the guidelines? You know, if 4 people had the flu, there wouldn't be time to get a game call off. So I'm not a doctor, and it's not for me to comment on medical issues. We still don't know what the long-term effects of COVID are. I don't think we will know for quite a few years. So you know, people are getting it and being reinfected. People who've been double jabbed are still getting this. You know, you'd like to think that you wouldn't be seriously ill, but we've had a couple of players who've been bad with it. So I can only control things that are in my control, and just get on with things that are in my control, and I'll do my best to do that.
And I suppose around the club and in the football environment, you can have a degree of control over it, but players have got lives and partners and kids and have to go to the supermarket.
Well, that's right, and you know, a lot of people have suffered from this, and you know, it'd be wrong to be cheerless about it and write it off as not important, because people have lost loved ones because of that. And it is important. Everyday life's important. People's mental health is important, and it's an ongoing battle to get the balance right. You know, people saying we need football back and we don't need football back, and we need fans back, we don't need fans back. And you know, you'd like to think that the government would get a handle on things and do what's best for the majority of the people. Very, very difficult to please everybody, isn't it? So I just have to try and get on with my job as best I can.
You will have fans back this weekend. You've had a taste of it with a couple of pre-season games. Can anything compare to a competitive match with kind of no restrictions on who can be there?
Well, when we played Preston, we had fans there, and they ramped it up even more. I think it was because like a show of strength, really. I had a good chat with Jason after the game on the ultras, and you know, I think they'll be looking to put on a show on Saturday, and the lads do appreciate it, and we appreciate it, and we do respond. And it's, you know, it is a two-way process. We're there to enter all the fans and to inspire them, and they're there to inspire us. So it's like a marriage, and both parties have got to do the best to please the other one.
Even with a couple of away games, can you explain the difference of having that response from a crowd, even if they're giving you stick?
I mean, you look at our crowds on Tuesday, they were great. They were great at Wickham. And, you know, the one thing about our fans, maybe with the exception of a couple over my right shoulder, they never ever get on people's backs. You know, they're very, very supportive. And that's what you want off a football crowd. You know, the term support or supporters lends itself to helping, not criticising.
Have you even missed the ones that give you stick?
I miss stress when I was out of work, so probably I do miss some of the negatives, yeah.
Does that make you a masochist?
No. Sadist.
Let's talk about a couple of personnel. You mentioned the other night, John O'Sullivan missed out because he had a knock, and what's the situation with Joe Hardy?
Joe's had to have an operation. It's something that's been ongoing for a while. Thought he could manage it. That's unavoidable. So he'll be out for a couple of months, but you know, that'll pull it to bed then, and we'll have a fresh player. So, you know, we'll wait for him, and we'll just have to see how John is over the next couple of days. With
Joe, is it a pragmatic decision that, rather than having him at a certain sort of hampered percentage to try and get him?
I mean, for the lad's own sanity really, and for him to get playing to the best of his ability and to be able to compete for the place and to add some value to our squad, he had to have the operation. So the decision wasn't a difficult one to make.
Having won in the cup in the week and got that first victory of the season, is there a bit of a spring in the step? Is there a little bit kind of more enthusiasm and excitement about the league game at the weekend? And can you take the kind of good feeling into the game?
Well, you've got to try to. A very, very important game for both teams, really. You know, and you don't want to go too long without getting points on the board. That's certainly a big factor. But there's no easy games in football, and you know, Cambridge had a good result on Saturday, and they'll be looking to build on their positive start to the season. So, you know, we have to try and get up and running, and hopefully our fans will help us on our way to that. How
close was that League Cup victory to the potential of this group of players, particularly in that first half?
First half, you're very good. And we've just got to be a bit more ruthless in front of goal. We missed some good chances on Tuesday, and that plagued us a bit last year. But what was really pleasing was the two forwards are back to the very best, and when they're like that, they're as good as anybody in the league. And the defence were back to the best. You know, the three lads at the back were outstanding, and then there was big performances all around. But you know, they stood out because, you know, the two previous weeks we haven't defended properly, and they, you know, them three by their own admission were on top of the game, but on Tuesday they were. And when you do that, you've got a chance.
I've heard quite a few managers and people at clubs talking about how hard it is to find strikers who'll score you 15, 20 goals a season at the moment. Do you feel really blessed in that regard?
I think so. I think our two strikers are as good as anyone in the league, and we're lucky to have them. You know, if they keep playing and keep showing the attitude that they showed on Tuesday, they can do a lot of damage this year.
Other end of the pitch, we've seen both of the goalkeepers who are candidates for the number one shirt, with respect to young Liam Isherwood. But is that a battle that's ongoing?
Yeah.
Is that a battle that's going to be pitched throughout the season between James and Toby?
Yeah, and that's what you want. And you know, you want them pushing each other all the way, and they're very supportive of each other as well, which is good. You know, they're fierce rivals for the shirt, but you know, they work well off the or on the training pitch, and that's what you want out of two young goalkeepers.
Do more games help that situation, cup ties and trophy and stuff like that?
Well, it gives you the opportunity to see them at first hand, and you know, both of them have acquitted themselves really well, so it doesn't make the decision any easier.
Is there any reticence about their age or their lack of experience, or is that what you signed up for?
You were not my kids. No, I mean, I've always been a firm believer if they're good enough, they're old enough. And you know, both of them have belied the years in how they play.
You've touched on Cambridge. You know from experience when a team gets promoted, that brings a sense of momentum. Is there any surprise that they've started well, having done what they did last season?
No, not at all. You know, teams come in buoyant and they want to try and do the best in whatever league they're in, particularly the promoted ones, and everyone's looking forward to the start of the season, and until it settles down you get some very, very strange performances and results.
Is it important, you mentioned getting your first points, is it important to have that kind of base early on? I know over the years managers yourself have talked about get enough points to stay in the division, but if you've got them in January you're probably going to be in the playoffs. Well,
that's the thing, you know, you can't look too far ahead, you can only look as far as your next game, and you know the way we play, we try and win every game we play, so you know all our preparation this week is all geared around trying to get 3 points, and we know how difficult it is to do that on a weekly basis.
And just lastly, as far as your setup is concerned, we're still seeing the 3 centre halves and the wing backs. Has there been a conscious decision to try and keep those wing backs as wingers, as attacking players, and to push the opposition back rather than defenders who are augmenting an attack?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to judge that because you don't know what the opposition is going to play like. You don't know what formation they're going to play like. We're an attacking team by nature, and so you do want your wing backs to become wingers when they can. And you know, the ideal world, you don't have to defend too much because you're in the opposition's half and you only need 3 defenders. The harsh reality is you're going to need 5 at some point, so it's getting the balance right, and we've got lads who are prepared to work, and that's all you can ask for.